Hi, this is Chase from CNC Commentaries, and today on CNC Movie Breakdowns, we're going to be talking about the 2016 horror film Don't Breathe, directed by Fede Alvarez. But I couldn't do this podcast alone. I'm of course joined by the one, the only, Nando.
Hello. How you doing, Chase?
How's it going?
Oh, it's going well. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing great, man. We're knee deep in spooky season,
Oh
and
yeah.
boy, oh boy, have the frights been frightening.
We're edging ever so closely to Halloween.
It will. Halloween is fast approaching, uh, and we all know what happens on Halloween.
Yeah, our fourth installation.
Ghosts, ghosts and ghouls.
Ghouls and ghosts.
I don't know what a ghost is. I think that's a goose and a ghost combined.
A ghost. Anyway, why don't you tell us about Don't Breathe?
Don't Breathe. I'm talking about the movie. I wasn't commanding you, Nando.
I see.
Don't Breathe was a 2016 horror thriller film directed by Fede Alvarez, and it's about these three kids who are not kids, teens who are thieves, and they break into people's houses and try money, and then they decide one day to target this blind veteran who's played by Stephen Lang, and let's just say he puts up a bigger fight than they were expecting.
Yeah.
And it doesn't go well for all of them.
Things don't exactly go to plan.
I guess we should talk about initial thoughts, because for me, this was my first time seeing this.
First time seeing Don't Breathe, which is a first on this podcast.
It's a first. Mark it in the record books.
Yeah, we really hit a milestone here. I picked a movie that you didn't see.
Yeah.
So, I originally saw this movie a couple years ago, probably in 2016 or 2017. And I thought it was solid. Nothing too amazing, nothing terrible. I really liked the premise, and I really liked how how this movie is shot. I think some of the shots in this movie are really cool. It's got a neat little twist in it, and I think the acting for the most part is pretty good. What about you, Chase? Your first time viewing this movie, initial thoughts?
Well, going into this, I did not know a lot about this. Like I said before, I knew that Stephen Lang plays a blind guy, and I knew that some people break into his house, and he shows them why they should not do that. I didn't go in with necessarily high expectations. I just set the bar at standard level, and I didn't feel like I wasn't necessarily surprised by anything in it. I felt like, for the most part, it was very much, I don't want to say by the book, but for the most part, there weren't a lot of surprises for me. But I enjoyed the performances for the most part, and I think it's I appreciate the originality of it.
Yeah, there's not a lot of movies about teens breaking into old blind war veterans' houses and getting and things going awry.
It's a pretty niche genre.
Yeah.
I guess without further ado, let's jump on into this.
Let's get in.
This blind man's house.
Okay, so let's jump right into it. Okay, our opening shot is this really cool aerial shot. I think it looks really nice. and it's of what appears to be an older man just dragging this girl down the middle of the street. He's like dragging her, and she looks beat up. Looks like something.
Hey, do you think we'll ever see that shot later?
Maybe it'll come back. I don't know. So we see her getting dragged throughout the street, and she's pretty incoherent. We just see her slowly get dragged, and then we cut to what we assume is before, and it's these three teens breaking into some like nice house. You know, there's three of them this time. The girl doesn't.
And the one thing that bothered me about this movie or about this scene is they get into there no problem, right? Mm-hmm. They clean the place out, and then for no reason, they break the glass door, causing problems, making a mess for no reason.
Yeah,
get out of there clean.
These kids, I think that's kind of done on purpose. So these kids are kind of reckless. I think that's definitely part of it. These kids, they throw they throw a rock through their window. They break it. They set off the alarm, and they take all their stuff and they sell it. I think that scene does good at showing that these kids are kind of reckless, especially because our little team here is composed of three people. You got Alex, Money, and Rocky.
And they're very different.
They're all different.
Yeah, they all stand out.
Mm-hmm. So Money he's kind of like a thug. He's definitely more vulgar than the others. Yeah,
I'd say he's definitely the most reckless out of the three. He's
definitely the most reckless. Like he's willing to take bigger risks. Then you got Alex, who's the quieter one. He is kind of reluctant. He's worried about consequences and getting caught. But he's actually their way that they break into these houses, because they break into houses that his dad works at a security company, and they break into houses that are under his dad's security company. So he has access to keys.
You'd think that would make them more of like a target under suspicion.
Yeah.
Because you got the connection, but I don't know. I don't know how many times they've done this before, but if it worked, it worked.
And then you've got Rocky, who's the only female on this team, and she just needs the money because she wants to leave Detroit to go to California because she kind of lives in a trashy family.
Yeah, we get that scene of her going back home, and you can tell her family life isn't the best.
Yeah.
You get that touching scene between her and her sister, her younger sister. And when I first saw that, I felt like this is going to be resolved somehow with the two of them. And because they talk about wanting to go to the beach, the sister wants to go to the beach.
Yeah.
So I was just like, I feel like at some point in this movie, they're going to go to the beach. That will happen.
Yeah, so, Rocky just wants money so she and her little sister can run off to California, go to the beach. And, yeah. And another thing that I noticed during this movie is that Alex, I guess, likes Rocky.
Yeah, well, you can tell he likes her. And then Money also? Are her and Money together? Or
I don't really know.
Does Money like her?
It's not really explained. The only insight we get into that is when Money says he's like, of course I give a fuck. She's my bitch.
Yeah, so I was just like, I don't know if that meant they're together or I don't think so. They were together because she didn't have that strong of a reaction when he died.
We'll get to there. But yeah, so Alex is like, when you guys run to California, I'm coming with you.
Yeah.
And so Money goes to sell all the products that they stole from the house that they raided. And the guy that he's selling them to gives him a tip about this old blind guy's, or this old house. It's like in a ghost town. He's the only one that lives there in a radius, and he says that's a pretty easy steal.
Well, if he says it's easy, it must be easy.
It must be easy. And so, money. They have this. There's this kind of weird scene, and I think it's like a diner.
Yeah, it looked like a cafeteria.
Something like that. But it's completely deserted, and Money's just there. He's talking to them very loudly about them.
Yeah, they're just openly talking about robbing the house.
I don't know why this place is just deserted. But he's just talking.
So you'd think to just maybe quiet down a bit when discussing the potential crime plan in public.
But no, he's just telling them, and he's like, "Oh, this is gonna be easy steal."
But Dylan is kind of hesitant. He doesn't want to. He doesn't want to do this job, and then especially when he finds out it's a blind man.
Yeah. But then he's like, I'm not doing this. So he goes home and he actually looks up the house address, and he finds out that this blind guy's daughter she got in an accident and got killed by another girl who was from a rich family. Mm-hmm. And he got paid like a 6-figure settlement. And we find out that it's like a $300,000 settlement. And so he's on his computer and he gets a text on his phone, and Rocky texts him. She's like, please do it for me. One last one.
One last job. It's always one last job when
it's always the last job that goes wrong.
It's never the penultimate job.
No, it's never like the 6th job. It's always got to be the last one. And so then he's like, all right, fine, I'll do it. And something that I like about this movie is before they actually do the robbery, Money goes and he actually sets up a camera outside of this guy's house that they're going to rob, just to see when he goes in and out.
Yeah.
So you can tell that these guys are kind of experienced, and that they've got some sort of plan here.
I mean, we've seen before they've done it once, and a few times before that.
So yeah, they're in this car, and they're looking at the house, and they see that this guy is blind because he walks by, and his huge Rottweiler also jumps up to the window. And it seems very aggressive. It's barking at them heavily. So, we know that this blind man he's a shut-in. He rarely comes out, and that he has a very aggressive dog. But these guys think that this is going to be an easy job.
Well, they also, we should say that we also find out that, they find out that he was also he's a veteran.
A Gulf War veteran, yeah.
Yeah, he's got. They know he has that military training.
Yeah, but he is blind after all.
Well,
they think
who knows how hardcore his training was.
I don't know, man. The Gulf War is pretty hardcore. Who knows about this guy? And we also get this really cool line because Alex is like, isn't it kind of messed up to rob a blind guy? And then Money is like, just because he's blind doesn't make him a saint.
Which is true.
Which is true, as we'll come to learn.
I love it. There's a particular shot I love of the house, blind guy's house, and it's like from an alleyway, and just the way that it's framed, it reminded me so much of the house from Monster House.
Yeah, when we were actually watching this movie, you were like, when that shot came up, you were like, Monster House.
Yeah, I was like, hey, wait a minute, they got the crazy. Got the old guy, got the creepy house, got the 3 kids. This could be Monster House. This is an action Monster House movie waiting to happen.
This is just a more mature Monster House.
Yeah, this is the gritty live action retelling of Monster House.
You also, in the car, you get this scene where Rocky shows that she got a new tattoo of a ladybug on her wrist.
Yes, the Ladybug.
Yeah. And she tells this story to Alex after he asks, and she's like, yeah, when my dad left, my mom used to lock me in like this car trunk for hours. And I remember in this car trunk there was a tiny hole, and a ladybug would come in and keep me company.
So, and now, when we were watching this, I called it, man. I said, I didn't know how, but I just said, something to do with the ladybug is going to come up later.
Something's going to happen.
This is as I have penned now. This is a Chekov's ladybug scenario.
Chekov's ladybug.
You mentioned a ladybug in the first act. There's gotta be a ladybug.
The Chekov's ladybug.
I mean, we all remember it from the Rodney Dangerfield movie Ladybugs.
You were the first. You heard it here. So then the kids wait till like I think it's 2 a.m, and then they're walking up, and they're finally gonna commit the robbery. So like they jump the fence, and they they do something clever. So to take care of this guy's Rottweiler, who's outside in like an alleyway next to the house, they throw like a piece of meat, and it's got something that makes him go to sleep in it, like a tranquilizer of some sort. And so they put the Rottweiler to sleep, and Alex tries like his little security key thing, but it doesn't work. So Roxy has to crack like a window open. And something I really like about her like actually breaking into it, the way it's shot is really good. Like you get these like extreme close-ups of the window and like the glass falling to the floor and the window actually sliding open, and you can just hear all the noise, and I think it's really well done. Like it creates
one thing. Are you finished?
It creates like a sense of kind of anxiety.
In a sense, one thing I really like about this movie though is like the color palette, if that makes sense, and just the darkness. Because I also feel like, and I just thought about this now, like the scenes are very dark, and I think that is also in a sense kind of like the man's blindness.
Yeah.
And that they are practically blind in the house, because we do get a scene where it's like
he turns off the power,
pitch black, and it's like almost looks like Blair Witch style shooting.
Yeah. Like this blind guy can be pretty terrifying. So then she like gets in, she disables like the alarm, and she opens the door for Bunny and Alex, and they get in. And as Roxy is walking around this house, you see these pictures of what appears to be a teenage girl. And as the movie set up earlier, like his daughter was killed.
Yeah.
In a car accident. So you're starting to piece things together, like, oh, that's probably why this guy is a shut-in. He misses his daughter so much.
Yeah.
So yeah, these guys start moving around, and they're trying to find like where the money is stored. And they take off their shoes and put them next to a table to be quieter. So as Rocky and Alex are moving around trying to find this, Money actually goes upstairs he's trying to find the blind guy's room. And he goes upstairs and he finds it. And his
TV is on.
Yeah, his TV is on, and it looks like it's playing some kind of home video. It's dated.
Was it a home video?
Yeah, it was dated in the 1980s or 90s. It was dated.
Oh, I didn't even notice that. I thought it was just like some late night TV. Okay, that makes that a whole lot more interesting.
Yeah, so he's playing like this home video. It's dated in the 80s or 90s, and it has like a young girl on it. I remember because she was like playing in sand or something, and you can tell that this was his daughter. and he's fallen asleep to this. So here's this guy in his bed, and you see Money has like this little water bottle contraption, and earlier when they were like downstairs together, he's like, I'm gonna go chloro bomb this guy. So he when he actually like starts to create the chloroform, he has to put a knife into the plastic bottle to let the chloroform out. And the sooner he even pierces this and makes like the piercing sound, this guy just sits up in bed. And I think it's done in a very creepy way, because this guy he just sits up and he's just staring around the room.
And well, I mean, and it makes sense when you think about it, because I mean, in real life, blind people, you know, they lose their sight, their hearing adapts, and just inherently gets stronger, and so it makes sense that he'd be able to pick up on those little things, and how he uses that to his advantage.
Yeah, but then he hears that the home video is playing, so I think he just assumes that it was the home video. So he turns off the TV and then he lays back down. So Mike puts down this chloroform bottle that's now like leaking the gas into the room, and he closes the door back up. So he goes downstairs. He's like, I chloroform bombed him. He's out.
Sure he is.
Yeah. So then they search the house. They search around the house, Rocky and Alex, and they're like, we can't find this safe. And they've went into every room except this one door that looks to be locked, and it actually has like a lock on it. Clearly, he doesn't want anybody going in there except him. So,
and already, when I'm seeing this right now, the warning lights are going off. I'm like, some bad shit's behind that door.
Yeah. So they're like, how do we open this? They're like they try using a crowbar to open the door, but eventually Money pulls out a gun, and of course Alex like freaks out. He's like, you gotta have a gun? You realize that now he has the legal right to shoot us, right? And so once he sees this gun, he kind of like freaks out. He's like, I'm out of here. So he goes to leave.
I mean, and also when you think about it, that just wouldn't be smart in general, because he shoots the lock off, the guy's gonna wake up.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, I guess at that point they think he's out.
Yeah, I think they think that the chloroform bomb will work.
Yeah, I don't know how long it takes for chloroform slowly leaking out of like a water bottle to kill someone, but I feel like he'd still be able to maybe get out of his room.
So Alex leaves, and Money shoots the lock, and the lock like falls to the floor. But as he's opening the door, the old man, like the blind man, comes down the stairs, and Money and Rocky just kind of freeze there. But then as he walks forward, and he actually like on the floor, he feels with his foot the lock. So now he knows that they're in there.
Mm-hmm.
So once Money sees this, he points the gun. He tries to play dumb at first. He's like,
yeah, he tries to play it off as like he's drunk and stumbled in, which I don't know how much credit he thinks he can give to a pretend drunk guy to get into a house.
Yeah.
Like that, break a window, crawl through the window.
But then this blind man starts to just slowly step forward, and Money drops the act, and he points the gun at him, and he's like, just stay there, stay right there, else I'll shoot. But the blind man keeps inching forward, but I guess Money just can't pull the trigger because he just doesn't. And eventually the blind man gets to him, and the sooner he's in striking distance, this blind man just wrecks Money at this point.
Oh, how the tables turn.
And this blind man pins Money up against the wall, and he takes his gun from him, and then he asks him how many robbers are there, and then Money lies, and he says it was just him. And Rocky's just standing still, trying not to scream while watching this. Like she has to not breathe as the movie.
Oh, I get it. That's the name of the movie.
Yeah. She can't make any noise. So after Money answers, he starts begging this blind man to let him go. But then this blind man just executes him, shoots him
Boom.
right through the jaw.
Money is out.
Yeah, this blind man doesn't mess around. And I think this death scene is done very well. Because, you know, when you go in, you think, okay, yeah, this is a Gulf War veteran, but you know, he's blind. How dangerous can he be? But then you see he went from unarmed to just executing Money in a matter of seconds. He just poses
tactical training.
Yeah, this movie shows you that this man is a very serious threat. And so
I mean, we've talked about stuff like this before with like our Texas Chainsaw review, but they're invading his home.
Yeah, as of right now, he's got like the legal right to do this. I mean, sure, he was kind of brutal about it, but
I mean, they broke into his house to steal stuff.
Yeah,
these aren't necessarily good people.
But yeah, like the way it's shot, his facial expression, he just had no hesitation. He just executed the man.
Well, I mean, he can't see Money's facial expression.
And so Rocky kind of is like freaking out, so she moves into this like back closet area. And so as far as this blind man is concerned, he just killed the only robber in the house, so everything is safe and secure. But when the gun actually went off, like he actually killed Money, Alex hears it when he's out of the house and he's walking away. So Alex is like scared for Rocky, I guess, so he walks back into the house. And there's this really cool shot of Alex it's just a hallway shot of Alex walking back, but then the blind man also is like speed walking towards him. He has his hand on the wall, he's like feeling the wall. And Alex just has to like press back up against the wall. It's done really well. Because
I mean, they realize now that they can't make a single sound. Every noise that happens to be made.
This guy's gonna know.
Yeah, and then that could lead to their ultimate demise.
Mm-hmm. So, you know, like Alex and Rocky are pretty freaked out after seeing that. And we see this blind man get, like, he's just walking around his house, but he actually gets a plank and some nails, and he gets locks, and he starts boarding up the window that they broke through, and he starts locking all the doors. He's literally putting his house on lockdown so none of these guys can escape.
Yeah, and I think he realizes that Money probably wasn't the only one.
Yeah, I think this guy is definitely smart enough. And it's kind of terrifying because this guy, even though he might be blind, is so confident that he can take multiple robbers that he locks himself in there with them. Like, he is not willing to let these people go.
Yeah.
So Alex and Rocky, they pull out their phones and they start texting each other. And Rocky,
which this bugs me more than anything. Turn off your damn ringer or whatever.
Oh yeah, that'll come in.
You're
later.
going into a robbery, especially with a blind man whose hearing is inherently better.
Mm-hmm.
Turn off your damn ringer. Treat it like a movie theater, for crying out loud.
So yeah, they're texting, and you know she tells Alex, and she's like that he shot Money, and they find out each other's locations, and Rocky tells him that she's in like this closet, but the blind man actually comes into the closet that she's in, and she's just trying to be silent behind some racks of clothes. And she sees him kind of move stuff away from the wall, and she sees him open a safe. And she sees the code and everything. And she sees these bundles of cash in the safe.
Cash money.
Yep.
Well, you see, to gain money, you must lose money.
So she sees these bundles of cash, and she realizes that's the money from the settlement. It has to be. And so Alex makes her way towards her, and he passes Money's body, and I think that he's horrified. What is the actor that plays Alex?
It's the guy from 13 Reasons Why, Dylan Minute. I don't know how to say his last name, but it's something like that. He's from 13 Reasons Why.
I think that this guy can be a pretty good actor. I think that he's been given some bad roles though. I like him in this movie, but I don't like him in 13 Reasons Why.
I mean, what can top his amazing performance in Snow Buddies?
Yeah. But I think he's a pretty good actor in this movie. Granted, it's not a very.
I think he does what is expected of him.
Yeah, I don't think this is the most acting intensive role, but he accomplishes what needs to be done.
If anything, this is more acting via just facial expression.
Yeah, facial expression, body language. He has to convey horror without saying anything. Alex and Rocky meet up in this closet, and Rocky opens the safe because she saw the code earlier, and she takes the money. And they're ready to now they have this money, and they're ready to leave. They gotta try to find a way out.
And that is the rest of the movie.
That is the rest of the movie.
They gotta find a way out. And how hard can it be to find a way out, really?
Yeah. So, they try to tiptoe out of the closet and into, the main area where Money's body is in. But the blind man comes back into the room, and so now they've just got to freeze in place. And he tries to... He's putting Money's, body in a garbage bag.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it almost seems like he's done this before, again.
Yeah. This guy might have some experiences with bodies.
Just a bit.
So, Rocky tries to kind of, step back, but as she's doing this, the wooden floor creaks under her, and so the blind man pulls his gun up, and he's like, "Who's there?" And he's pointing his gun around the room. He's trying to find out where they are.
I just want to say the way that that kind of stuff was done with the floorboards, it reminded me very much of some stuff from A Quiet Place.
Yeah.
Because that's another thing, very similar premise. Dealing with these monsters that super hearing and have to be as quiet as possible, and every little sound you gotta be careful.
I really like the scenes where they have to be extremely still from the blind man, because I think that hiding is inherently more scary than being chased. Because, these scenes are very tense because they just have to stand still. In that previous scene in the living room, Rocky just had to completely stand still while this guy was pointing his gun directly at her, not sure if she was there.
I mean, and you gotta remember, he doesn't necessarily know exactly what he's doing. He's taking an educated guess.
Yeah.
As to where they might be and what they might do.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of goes to I don't say downfall, but doesn't go the way he expects later on.
Yeah.
When he does a certain action.
So yeah. So then Rocky and Alex go through the door that was previously locked, the one that Money shot the lock off of. And it's a really dark room. It's kind of like a dark basement. They have to turn on their flashlights, and it's just foreboding almost.
Yeah.
It's very.
I don't think it's welcoming.
Yeah, it's very creepy. And so then this blind guy finds their shoes that they placed in the living room when they entered the house. And so now he knows for sure that there's more people in there. So he starts to freak out. He checks his safe. He finds that the money is gone, and so he's getting real angry. He's getting upset. So why don't you walk us through the basement scene with our little fun twist?
I mean, I don't even know if you can. I suppose it's a twist, but for me, it seemed kind of. I knew there had to be somebody. I just expected it to be bodies, honestly. I thought this was like, we're going to find out that he's had to deal with child robbers in the past.
It really is Monster House.
Honestly. But, so they go down there, and there's this lady chained up.
Yeah.
And we don't know who she is.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're rightly frightened.
Yeah, they're kind of freaked out. When I'm robbing a house and I go to
when I'm robbing a house and I see a lady tied up in a basement, I have questions.
It makes you really question if you're evil or not. So, this lady, she starts like yelling at them, right? And she has a gag in her mouth, so she's just kind of like yelling through her gag. And she eventually like holds up this newspaper clipping of her, and you find out that girl that's chained up is the girl that ran over and killed his daughter. So this blind man has kidnapped the girl that killed his daughter. And I'm just saying this, like, the first time I watched this movie, at the first part I was kind of rooting for the blind guy because, he's in his right to defend his home. But I feel like this twist was kind of included just so you could root for the robbers. Because
I felt I was rooting for none of them, honestly.
Well,
I mean, I feel like honestly, I was rooting for Rocky the most.
Well, yeah, and especially after you realize that this guy is a kidnapper, yeah, I feel like that was included. I feel like that was included in the movie, A, as like a fun little twist, and B, so you can actually kind of so you can kind of root for the robbers, and you can say that the blind guy is evil. And so they find another safe, and it's the same code as the one that had their money. I guess this guy uses the same code for all his safes. And so inside are like a bunch of keys. So they free this girl. And Alex, before they free her, Alex is like, "No, we have to go. She's dead weight. We just leave her behind, and then we call the cops, and they can come get her." And Rocky's like, "No, we gotta save this girl." So it's kind of the moral dilemma here. What do they do?
It's a good question, Nando. What do they do?
So they end up like taking this girl, and they're trying to escape through like this. They're trying to escape because there's an exit in the basement. But as soon as they get this little door open, the blind man already predicted that they would use that exit, and so he's already outside. And so he like swings the door open and he starts shooting his gun. And he clips Alex in the ear, I think.
Yeah, he does a Vincent Van Gogh.
Yeah, he clips him in the ear, and then I think I didn't think he meant to execute the girl. He just executes this girl that he kidnapped. Like
Well, I mean, obvious as we find, he very clearly didn't mean to kill the
yeah,
girl.
but he just shot this girl in the face.
Because he probably thought it was Rocky, but obviously
Yeah.
can't see who's who.
So Rocky and Alex like hide in the basement, and he finds out that he shot the girl, and he starts like screaming. He's extremely upset over the death of this kidnapping victim, which is kind of strange if you think about it. But then we come to find out why he got mad later.
And should we just jump into that now and then circle back to it?
No, we'll get there when we get there. So you get to one of my favorite scenes, the chase in the basement. And so, they're trying to hide from this blind man. But what the blind man does is he like flips a power breaker or something in the basement, and he turns off all the lights in the basement. And we get these really cool so the basement is completely pitch black. And, you realize that this man can navigate completely fine in the basement when it's pitch black, because he's blind. But our two characters are, wandering around. And you get these, as you said earlier...
Well, I mean, it's no different for him. It's the same surroundings for him.
So, you get these really, as you said earlier, it's kind of like Blair Witch. You get these, our characters, stumbling in the darkness. And another... cool thing I want to mention is we get these shots of him actually feeling his way around and touching it's almost like checkpoints throughout his basement so that he knows where he is. It just shows you how he's adapted to being blind. It's really cool because the movie shows you that this guy is a lethal killer even though he's blind. I think he's just a really scary villain in this movie. Just because
I don't even know if he's a villain.
I think he's a villain.
I mean, isn't everybody kind of a villain in this movie? I don't think there are any good guys.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. But then, they get chased through the basement. Alex almost dies because he almost chokes to death by this blind man. But they make it out of the basement, and they see the light coming from the door, and they make it out of the basement.
They see the light.
And so they try blocking the door by jamming a crowbar down through it. But they've got another problem even out of the basement. Chase, why don't you walk us through this next chase scene?
Oh, I see what you did there. That was a pun.
That was a pun. I've been setting that one up for a while.
Well, they're going through the house, and then they forgot about the dog. The dog is still there, and he is not happy.
Yeah, he's done, and he woke up.
Yeah, he ate his little meal, took a nap, and he's back, and he's a little mad. So it's a Rottweiler. It's a pretty this Rottweiler is at least a pretty mean Rottweiler. But I don't know. I feel like if they wanted to, the two of them could take the dog.
Yeah.
I'm not advocating killing the dog. But in the circumstance, if you had to.
Yeah, maybe. So these guys are trying to now that they have this ring of keys, they're trying to open all the locks in the front door because this guy has 5 locks on his front door because he's paranoid. So
Monster.
Yeah, Alex is trying to calm down this Rottweiler, and eventually the Rottweiler charges, and so Alex and Rocky are freaked out, so they run upstairs. And they barricade themselves in this bedroom. But they see... I'd also like to point out a minor plot hole here.
Ooh.
Okay, so now, so they check both of the windows in this bedroom, right? Because I remember seeing this and remembering this the first time I saw this movie. They check both these windows, and both of them are barred, right? And so they're like, oh, we can't escape out the windows. And so Rocky sees this vent, and she's tiny enough to fit in the vent. But Alex,
Which I don't believe at all. She had a backpack on.
I think it could be possible. I don't know.
Okay, but I don't believe that the Rottweiler could fit in there.
Okay, that one's a little more.
I'm not buying that. The weight of the dog and the length. One of them's not fitting in there.
Yeah, Rocky escapes through the vent, but eventually the blind man he starts like slamming into the door to try to get in. And that eventually him and the dog get in. But what happens to Alex is, when I watched this movie at first, I'm like, oh, he has no escape. He's totally dead here. But the Rottweiler ends up pushing him through a window. One of the windows. But I'm like, that's not possible. The movie just showed us that this movie was that this window was barred. But I guess it isn't barred now. It was kind of...
I don't remember that.
I do. It's a detail that stuck out to me. But I guess...
Alex, he falls through the... He's on that glass, right?
Yeah, it's like that scene in Jurassic Park with Jeff Goldblum.
I suppose.
He's like unconscious on the glass.
But then he falls straight through. In my head, I'm thinking like, how did he not die? This guy falls straight back on his head. How is his head not cracked open like a watermelon?
Yeah, I guess this guy is pretty resilient. And so yeah, Rocky's in the vents, and Alex falls through this glass, and I guess he's not dead. He gets up. He's pretty dinged up though. He's looking pretty beat up.
Oh yeah, he's got like a black eye, throbbing lip.
Yeah.
He's been through some stuff.
And Rocky's trying to climb through these vents, but we see that the Rottweiler has entered the vent and is now chasing behind her.
Most unrealistic part of the movie for me.
But then, like, Alex kind of limps his way through the house until he gets to, like, the laundry room, I guess it is. And he's trying to stay silent. He's sitting in this corner. He's just trying to make it look like he's not there, and he's not breathing. But then eventually he has to breathe in for air, and the old man notices that he's there. So he knows that. So the old man, or the blind man, knows that Alex is in this room. And Alex lashes out with his hammer, and he manages to get the gun out of the blind man's hand. But the sooner he does that, he gets like this. This blind man like absolutely destroys him. He's throwing him into stuff. He's just beating him up in general. But then he throws him into, I think it's a washing machine. And he accidentally turns on the washing machine. And it starts to, like, rattle and make a ton of noise. And it kind of stuns the blind man because he's getting a ton of noise, a loud noise from a ton of inputs.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of, like, stuns him. And so now that he's stunned, the old man is like fumbling around trying to turn it off, and Alex goes for the gun. But the old man, the blind man, manages to shut the washing machine off, and Alex doesn't get to the gun. And he punches Alex more, and then he grabs a pair of garden shears and he lifts them up, and it stabs into him.
Or so we think.
Yeah. The movie is shot... we just see the stab. We just see like a close-up of the garden shears going into a body, but we just assume that, it's Alex. As will come...
It is not Alex.
Yeah, as we'll come to learn later. Alex...
Which I was so surprised that this scene got me. I thought he was dead. I thought this movie would have been better if they had just killed him off right there. Because I don't think there's a obvious way that he survives that.
Well, I guess Alex is a really quick thinker because he manages to use Money's body, who's also in this laundry room, as a shield. So the garden shears actually stabbed Money instead of him. But, the movie hasn't shown us that yet. So we've got Rocky in these vents, and eventually she falls down like this hole in the ventilations, and she wakes up, and she's trying to kick open like this grate on the outside of the house, but right before she can leave, she gets dragged down by the blind man, and she just gets beat up, and she gets knocked unconscious. And so we think that Money and Alex are dead, and now we think Rocky is captured. So it's pretty low. It's a pretty sad point in
It's
this
not
movie.
looking good for them.
Not looking great. The plan has not come to fruition. So when Rocky wakes up, she is now the girl on the chains, and this blind man starts to speak to her. And I really like his performance because he doesn't get a lot of lines in this movie, but he still manages to come off as intimidating.
I mean, Stephen Lang's the best part of this movie.
Yeah, Stephen Lang is definitely the best part of this movie. He manages to be pretty spooky in this movie, and his actual speaking part is done pretty well. So
Like every time he talks, it's like a haunting ghost type of voice.
It almost looks like this guy seems kind of like a ghost, like he's not really there.
Yeah.
And so he talks to Rocky, and he's like, that girl, that he blames her death on her. He blames the girl's death on Rocky. Like, the girl you killed, she was pregnant. She killed my daughter. It was only fair that she gave me a new one.
And then we get what I can only describe as the most horrifying image of the film.
Oh, the turkey baster?
Yeah.
Okay.
He has a turkey baster full of semen.
Yeah. So now his plan is, since this girl is dead, he wants to make Rocky have a baby, so that way he can have a kid again. And of course, this guy even says it himself. He's like, I'm not a rapist, so I'm not going to force myself on you. I'm only going to get this turkey baster, fill it with semen, and impregnate you with it.
Which,
it's very uncomfortable.
I don't know a lot about the law.
That doesn't seem very legal.
But I still feel like that might qualify as like
sexual assault.
It's definitely sexual assault.
Something like that. We're no law experts here.
I don't know, but then she's able to get free and chain him up.
Oh, well, yeah. Alex.
And when it happened, I was telling her, I was just like, just put that baster into him. Just show him how he likes it.
Yeah, Alex, who the movie now reveals is still alive, he is looking messed up. Like, he has a black eye, his eyes is all swelled up. But he grabs a hammer and he goes down to the basement to save Rocky. And so that's actually how Rocky gets free, Alex smacks this guy with a hammer, and then they chain him up, and Rocky starts like beating this guy up, and she shoves this turkey baster in his mouth, which is pretty gross. And eventually they run back up the stairs, and they're in the process of unlocking the door. But then, out of nowhere, Alex gets shot twice in the back.
1, 2.
Yeah, he just gets shot in the back. Turns out the blind man got free of his handcuffs or whatever. And yeah.
Which makes sense because he has God knows how many keys.
He's got a lot of keys. He's a key man. And so, but before Alex died, he did manage to unlock the last lock. So the door is open, and Rocky just bolts out. But
We should say in this scene, the ladybug.
Oh, the ladybug.
A ladybug lands on Rocky.
Wait, that doesn't happen
So of
until
course,
later.
look, man, I'm just too excited about Chekov's ladybug. I'm gonna be honest.
Chekov's ladybug. Okay, here. So the Rottweiler chases her, and eventually she makes it back to the car. But the Rottweiler is like outside the car, and he's trying to get in. But then we get a pretty smart move by Rocky, and where she manages to trap the dog inside the car while she's outside.
And can I just say, like, one of my only main problems with this movie is, like, I honestly think no matter how hard you really train that dog, or how malnourished that dog might be, I don't think he would really be that adamant of going after one person. I think at a certain point, you'd just be like, fuck it, I'm done.
I don't know.
Just go, lady.
Dogs.
It's a dog. This isn't the Terminator.
Yeah,
this isn't fucking Cujo. This is a regular Rottweiler.
I mean, I guess this war veteran really whipped him into shape, dude.
But how much practice could he possibly have?
But right when she gets outside the car, the blind man catches up to her and he knocks her out. And then we get that shot. We get that shot of that was at the beginning of the movie of the blind man dragging Rocky through the street back to the house.
Which I also don't know how I didn't put that together and realize it was the same girl.
Yeah.
I was just like, I just thought that was another body.
But, so you know they're back in the house now. But you know she hasn't given up yet, and so he dumps her body, right next to Alex's body, but in Alex's hand is like this little alarm thing that he was going to use to try to contact the police to like rat this guy out. And so she grabs this out of his hand, and she hits it, and she activates this alarm, and so blaring noises go out throughout this guy's house. And so as we establish,
and it causes his hearing aid to go off.
Yeah. Yeah, as we established earlier in the movie, like this guy gets like stunned when he's around loud noises, like it overwhelms him.
Yeah.
So then Rocky takes a crowbar and just beats this guy up. Like she just beats him around with a crowbar. And so of course the alarm went off, so now she knows that the cops are on the way. And let's talk about we skipped over Chekov's ladybug.
Yes, Chekov's ladybug.
So
the ladybug showed up.
Yeah. So as she was lying on the ground, this ladybug like appears on her finger, and you know she looks over to Ladybug, and that's how she realizes that the little alarm the alarm switch is there. So Chekov's ladybug here alerted her to the alarm. That's how she.
It's very subtle symbolism.
It isn't a movie without Chekhov's ladybug. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. And so Rocky manages to beat this guy up, and then she throws him down like the basement, and as this guy's like falling, I guess his gun hits the ground too hard or something, and it goes off. So the gun ends up shooting the blind man. So so then Rocky runs, and a cop car shows up. But she is.
And at this point, we think he's down. We think he's dead.
Yeah. You know, he got beat up with a crowbar, and then his gun shot him. You know, we think he's dead. So then we cut to Rocky and her sister. I think they're in an airport or a train station. Somewhere.
Airport.
Yeah. And obviously she has the money now, so she's just ready to ditch and go to California with her sister. But then she sees on a news feed that the blind man survived. And
Which I I mean, good on him for being so resilient.
yeah, this guy's like a tank. Like, this guy does not stop. And that's how the movie ends. The movie ends on them walking off.
I mean, I've read that there's like a sequel planned or in production or
Yeah,
something.
I
I
think
don't know where they would go with a story.
I think the sequel is planned for 2021. But I mean, I think that the blind man is gonna hunt her down.
So,
It might be.
maybe she raises her sister up to be a
Maybe.
badass fighter.
Yeah, maybe he's like Michael Myers. And so also another possible way is maybe he got some of the stuff in that turkey baster inside of her,
Oh,
and maybe she's pregnant with his child.
oh God, no! I hope not.
Yeah, that'd be a pretty.
Well, we don't. This isn't speculative hour. We don't need to get into this.
That's how the movie ends. All right, let's go into our closing thoughts here. So Chase, why don't you go first? What do you think of this movie overall?
Overall, for the most part, I think I got exactly what I expected going in. Not a bad movie, not a masterpiece. This is a very, low budget, simple story, and it's the main four people they all do a fine job. Stephen Lang in particular is great. It's just a very simple story. I appreciate the originality of it. But just nothing really like stood out to me. Nothing wowed me when I was watching this movie.
Yeah.
And but saying that, I decently enjoyed it.
Okay. Yeah, I'd agree with that. Yeah, I liked. Nothing in this movie was really terrible. I liked some. I really liked how this movie was shot. I think that especially incorporating that the man is blind and that sound is his main sense. I think that was really well shot, especially with all the extreme close-ups. I agree with you. The story's pretty simple, but it's not trying to be complicated. I think that sometimes movies overcomplicate their plots for the sake of being overcomplicated. This movie doesn't do that. It's just it's extremely simple, and that's a good thing. Anyway, what would you rate this movie, Chase?
I would rate Don't Breathe a solid 6.5 out of 10.
I'll rate this movie a solid 7.5. Not amazing, but not terrible. It's a pretty decent movie in my opinion.
I concur.
But anyway, that has been our episode on Don't Breathe. Thank you all.
Well, folks, if you liked this episode, I guess you could like this episode. You could probably subscribe. That we'd be okay with that around here, I think. Nat, are you okay if they subscribe?
I'm okay. It'd help us out.
Okay. Yeah, share it with a friend if you have friends. Let us know what you think down in the comments below. If you want to recommend something for us to do an episode on, hey, maybe we'll do it.
Yeah, leave a comment.
And yeah, this has been Spookathon.
This has been a Halloween season on CNC Commentary.
Which hold on a second.
Let's give our little teaser.
Our teaser for our next episode, which I think we can say our next episode is going to come out on Saturday. If you're listening the day this comes out, it'll be coming out the next Saturday. And so, if you can't figure out what the movie is, oh well. You really haven't been paying attention.
It's okay. You'll be able to connect the dots. I believe in you. It's okay. But anyway, thanks for tuning in, folks. This has been CNC Movie Breakdowns. We hope you have a very enjoyable day.
How do you know they're listening to this during the day?
Or night. Or dusk. Whatever time you're listening. Whatever.
Goodbye, everyone.